Yeah, hello Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching SOUQ News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching SOUQ News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch SOUQ News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Boggaballs, and please keep watching SOUQ News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East, SOUQ News, keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria, and you're watching SOUQ News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love no bad.
Anthony Onyemaechi Elumelu was born on the 22nd of March 1963 in Jos, North Central Nigeria, to Susanna Dominic Elumelu, originally from Delta State. Tony earned a degree in economics from Ambrose Ali University, where he laid the foundation for his future career, and then furthered his education at the University of Lagos, where he obtained a master's degree in economics. His academic journey also includes attending the Harvard Business School, where he completed the Owner of President Management program, equipping him with advanced business management skills. Tony currently serves as the chairman of Heirs Holdings, Transcorp, and United Bank for Africa, UBA, demonstrating his significant influence in the banking and investment sector. He founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which aims to empower African entrepreneurs through comprehensive training, mentorships, and funding opportunities. In addition to his professional achievements, he's also a family man, married to Dr. Adele Vivian Elumelu, and together they have 7 children. In 2020, his efforts were acknowledged when he was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in the world. Anthony Elumelu's net worth is estimated to be around $700 million, a testament to his successful ventures and strategic investments. Elumelu continues to be a driving force in the business world, advocating for sustainable economic growth and empowering the next generation of African entrepreneurs.
The National Assembly, in collaboration with the African Development Studies Center, ADSC, held a 5-day national capacity building workshop on treaties, agreements, and protocols for federal MDAs, with the theme, Enhancing Institutional Capacity for Effective Treaty Negotiation, Implementation, and Oversight in Nigeria. Honorable Barrister Rabiu Yusuf, Chairman of the House Committee on Treaties, Protocols, and Agreements in the 10th Assembly, highlighted the importance of strengthening the skills of key government officials in treaty processes.
At this particular moment of our country, we need a situation whereby all the stakeholders involved in external engagement with other countries, particularly state and the federal governments, and mostly MDAs of the at national level, to ensure that they are aware, they know what it takes, they know how it will be, and they know what it takes to ensure the institutionalized democracy and the legal approach as far as ratification, engagement, domestication of treaties. That is why the 10th National Assembly, under the able leadership of the Right Honorable Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, mandated our committee, pursuant to Section 12 sub 2 of the Constitution, that we should reach out to all necessary stakeholders who are personally stakeholders on this engagement to ensure they know how it takes and they know how to execute it. Basically, that is the reason we are conducting this exercise.
Actually, I think there is no point for me to deliver my remark at this time, because I'm very much aware that my remarks have been delivered yesterday in extension. So in either words, I will just say I really sincerely appreciate your presence in this program, and I believe it will go far in helping the system, stimulating the system, and work for the Nigerian progress. So I wish you a fruitful discussion and a successful outcome. Thank you very much.
The major challenge, everybody is going silo, in the sense that we are not trying to bring ourselves into the same table to ensure that before you find any entity, be it state, local governments, or federal entity, as far as engagement is concerned with other outside world, you need to know there are provisions of the Constitution which you need to comply. Failure to comply with that provision of the Constitution, whatever you do, it will go to a nullity, invalid, and is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution. And to the extent of that inconsistency, it is null and void, of no effect whatsoever. So we're trying to avoid this scenario whereby at national level or at international fora, Nigeria will be embarrassed because the stakeholders, the principal actors, they didn't even know what they are doing. So that is why we decided at this particular moment, it is ripe and necessary to ensure that we engage with unnecessary stakeholders. That is the basic reasons for engaging these activities. Actually, I recommend their effort to any other entity, because if you can see, most of them, they are legal luminaries. They know their audience, they know what they are doing. So I really appreciate, they did a very wonderful job. And I sincerely appreciate. That's the main reason that I say I need to be here in Lagos, at least to supervise the happening in Lagos. And I'm impressed. Engagement with outside world, it is two ways. It is going to be either bilateral or multilateral. So with this kind of workshop, or with this kind of discourse, we believe the principal actors will now know what it takes to enter a treaty. And if they comply with what they are taught in this session, if they advise their principal when they go back to their respective MDA on the right way to go, I believe most of the treaties will be legally binding in Nigeria, provided they follow the procedure laid down by the Constitution. The future is bright. And the future, we will ensure in the future that all the treaties, all the agreements, all the international protocols are being observed to the latter, are being protected and imposed as it is enshrined in the Constitution. And with this kind of workshop, we believe we will create a series of avenues whereby we will engage other parties, other necessary stakeholders. We just set the ball rolling, and we will be there, inshallah.
Also sharing insights on the workshop, the clerk of the House Committee on Treaties, Protocols and Agreements discussed the value of the training in improving the understanding and application of international agreements across MDAs. He noted that the engagement served as an eye-opener, equipping participants with tools for more effective negotiation and oversight.
I'm a Nigerian, I'm a citizen of Nigeria, and I want Nigeria to benefit from its interaction with the international community, and it starts from things like this. For us to be able to interact well, we need to know what it entails to engage in the international community. When we are talking about treaties, what does it entail to enter into treaties? How do we do that? How do we negotiate? How do we implement? How do we oversight as a parliament? So it is my duty as a clerk of the committee to advise the chairman and the committee members on how to go on all these issues. And also very instrumental to the organization of this workshop today. Our partners, the facilitators, are very, very excellent. We appreciate them. And it's also a collaborative effort between us and them. And so far, so good. What we have ensured so far has been fantastic. The participants are very, very impressed. I myself am impressed. And I also there are some things I am taking home. For instance, now, Nigerians used to think before that our negotiators who negotiate treaties will just go abroad, go on tea party, shopping, but it's not more the case. By what I'm seeing here now, I can see experts, technocrats who know their honors, who take the bull by the horn and do what it's supposed to do. That one has been established. Even our facilitators can attest to that as well. Another thing is that the quality of ideas being shown and being given us here is very, very apt to our situation presently, so that we can apply in our situation in Nigeria. And going forward, if this lesson continues, it's going to impact a lot, because MDs, many of the MDs are here, even state governments, like Kogi State Government is here, the SSG is here, the Attorney General of Plateau State was also here, and also some top directors in the federal MDA, they are here. So it's a high-class, high-level engagement workshop. We are in a political environment, I must tell you that. But we, technocrats, are supposed to be the advisors and movers of policies. So they don't need to bend. They need to stick to the rule. And I also to advise our government, our leaders, that as well as they are making policies, they should also consider the benefits, the interest of the country, not just politics. They should not play politics with it. They should consider the interest of the country first, and also the people. It's an appeal that everybody that has a responsibility to do, either in the public service, or in private sector, in government, do your responsibility as much as you can, in a good faith, in sincerity. Don't put your personal interests above national interests.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to be here to make a closing remarks on behalf of His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, 10th National Assembly, Right Honorable Tajudeen Abbas. He has mandated me to deliver this goodwill closing remarks. We appreciate your time, your dedication, and your efforts in trying to attend this program and attentively pay attention to the discourse and the further issue being deliberated here. And it is believed that this message you have learned here, or what you have learned here, will be passed towards your chief executive officers, and at the same time you will guide them in achieving the necessary mandates in deciding issues of treaties, obligation of treaties, and what have you. So at this juncture, on behalf of the Right Honourable Speaker, we wish you a safe return to your various destinations, and we believe you will pass the message to all other necessary stakeholders. Thank you very much.
The Eyo Festival, also known as the Adamu Orisha, is a traditional Yoruba festival unique to Lagos Island in Lagos State, the center of excellence. It is one of the most iconic cultural events in Lagos and serves as both a spiritual ceremony and a public spectacle. Eyo dates back to the 19th century, though original traditions suggest its origin may be older. It began as a rite of passage for the transition of a deceased Oba or High Chief in Lagos. In today's special report, Bayo Olaoye traces the antecedent and the genesis of this renowned cultural event. The first recorded Eyo Festival was held in 1854 to commemorate the passing of Oba Akintoye. Over time, it also became a celebration for the installation of a new Oba or to honor prominent Lagosians. The Eyo festival is rooted in Yoruba religion and spiritual practices, specifically those of the Orisha cult. It is particularly associated with the Adamu Orisha, a deity representing ancestors and spiritual guardians. The Eyo festival is essentially a masquerade festival. The masqueraders are called Eyo, and each represents a spirit of the ancestors. These Eyo figures are customized in flowing white robes with large hats and face coverings. They carry okpas, known as batons or staff, used to generally discipline those who break festival rules. The Eyo festival can also be described as a spiritual cleansing of the land and people, and used to escort the soul of a deceased noble into the afterlife. It invokes blessings and peace for the community, purges the city of evil spirit and misfortunes. The festival is organized by 5 major Eyo groups or Igas, also known as palaces, each with its own color and significance. Eyo Adimu, black, is housed in Iga Adimu. Eyo Laba, which is recognized by its red color, has Iga Idungoron as its palace, while Eyo Oniko, renowned for its yellow color, stays at Iga Oniko. Iga Ologede, with its green color, will reside at Iga Ologede, and Eyo Agere, with its purple color, stays at Iga Agere. The main day of the festival is called Oye Day, which falls on Saturday. Prior to this, there are several rituals leading to the Akoko Day, where announcements are made and various traditional rites are performed. What are the rules, regulations, and etiquettes? During the festival, what are the do's and don'ts? During the festival, certain items and behaviors are prohibited, such as wearing of sandals and shoes, since everyone goes barefoot during this period. Also prohibited is the use of motorcycles and bicycles, while public smoking is not allowed, as well as the wearing of hats and caps. Violators are often corrected gently with the okpa by the Eyo. What about the modern evolution of Eyo Festival as a potential for tourism development? While originally a sacred rite, the Eyo Festival has become a major cultural attraction, prominently showcased during Nigeria's independence celebration in 1960, and in subsequent years, it has been used to honor dignitaries and promote the heritage of Lagos. It does not occur annually, but rather on special occasions, often at the discretion of the Lagos monarch or Oba of Lagos as the custodian of the tradition. The festival combines ritual, theater, music, and community spectacle, and it is often considered a precursor to the modern Nigerian carnival. The Eyo Festival has inspired modern performances and literature in Nigeria and reflects the depth of Yoruba spirituality, the importance of ancestors, and the interplay between tradition and modernity. Olumide Shokoya reporting for Souqnews TV.
Okay, as you know, my name is Babatunde Jala Epega. I shortened it. That was part of my journey to Baba Jala Epega. I was born here in Lagos, just a stone throw away from here, in actually Lagos Hospital here. And I was expelled from school. I went to Corona Ikoyi at the age of 6. My teacher, who I found to be quite unjust at the time, made us all stand, and I remember this, even though it's like almost 45 years ago. But I remember standing outside Corona School in the heat with all the students in my class because one boy had done something and no one owned up. So I found that quite unjust that all of us had to suffer. So I picked up a stone and I threw that stone at my headmistress's glass, and it broke her window. She told my parents, and my parents weren't very happy, of course, but they realized that I wasn't meant to be in school like that here. So the teacher actually asked me to leave, And my parents took me to England. They said, take this child to England. We can't control this child here. He's a wild fellow. So as soon as I got to England, I went to Tunbridge Wells in Kent. I went to school there, and it was the most cold experience I've ever had in my life. I was 6.5 going to 7, and I went to boarding school at that age. And I think that woke me up in life straight away, that even in comfort, you still have steel. And by that I mean that everyone would think, oh, you are lucky, you went to England at 6, 7. Well, I was very young. I was put in a dormitory with children from England, from Japan, from Saudi Arabia. We were all very young. There was a lot of crying in the dormitory, 12 boys, 6 on each side. And the room was very cold. I remember the cold. But one other thing I got to learn was rugby. And through my life, rugby and learning to deal with my condition and environment has instilled a strength in me. And as we know in Nigeria, you have a lot of things that happen that are out of your control, but you have to find a way to evolve and adapt. And I think from the age of 6, 7, I was very lucky to have that. I went to the oldest school in the world called King's Canterbury, started by St. Augustine in 598 AD. This was the secondary school I went to. And my life seemed pretty, what they say, gold-leafed at the time. Everyone's like, you enjoy, you're in Nigeria, you're in London. I learned to speak Spanish. Unfortunately, I lost my Yoruba, but I'm trying to get that back. I learned to speak Spanish and French. But at the age of 17, my father had a stroke. And he was working too hard, obviously. And sadly, my mom and dad had split up by that time. So my whole life that seemed so rosy stopped because my father's business partners, all of them somehow took the business and it went away. And from that going away, we were left destitute. My dad was in a coma for 3 months, and my mother, who wasn't working, because my sisters and I have 2 lovely older sisters, Yewande and Gigi, we were still in school. So much so that my last year's school fees were not paid. But one of my uncles kindly paid for my school fees, and my mother had to go to work. She started her own business. She too was a journalist, Mrs. Ibiene Epega, but she started a chauffeur driving company and started using cars to drive people with her staff. So from that age where I thought a university was going to be given, I was left floating in the abyss because we didn't have financials. So for 1 year I had to work in a post office in London, and it was quite an eye-opener for me, but it didn't stop me from adapting. And again, adaptation helped me grow. So from being in a very wealthy family as a young man, coming to the age of 17 to become an adolescent, a grown-up, I realized that nothing is given. My father sadly was in a stroke, and when he had that stroke, he became semi-paralyzed. For another 30 years, he was semi-paralyzed. But my mother died quite soon after that time in a car crash on the road to Warri, because my Okrika side and Warri side is where my mom was from, even though my father was Ijebu. So my mother died at the age of when I was 21, which was 20 actually, when I was starting university. And my father was semi-paralyzed. So I became the father of the family, even though my sisters were older and far more intelligent than me. But being the man, I had to take control of a lot of things. And I think that's what really gave me the tenacity to understand that I really need to be someone who doesn't just walk in one field. I need to spread my risk. From my university, I did mathematical economics and Spanish. I was able to go to University, Queen Mary College, London University. And from there I finished, as I said, I worked again. So I worked before I went to uni, and then I worked afterwards. And for me, life is about collaboration, communication, and tenacity. And I think that those were my first 21 years. There were less people in Lagos in those days. I won't lie. I grew up every summer and even Christmas where we could afford it. Back in my day, 1978-79, Naira was 0.8 to £1. So you can understand that people were very wealthy. I think in those days there was like 40 million people. It wasn't that much of it because my dad was an estate surveyor. So we used to go to Abuja a lot. And he was one of the surveyors that gridded Abuja when it was being built during the late 70s, 80s with Obasanjo, and even before Murtala Mohammed. They were gridding it. And Lagos was, shall I say, Abuja was made the capital. And Abuja is a model city of Milton Keynes, which is a model city of Paris. Just like Brasilia in Brazil was changed from Rio de Janeiro as a capital. So for me, coming back to Lagos was a joy. I enjoyed it because I was young. We used to just run the streets on our bicycles and cycling, just exploring. Everything was open. There weren't as many cars. It was no big apartments, and there weren't as many people. So I had a beautiful time. There were a lot of lizards on the ground, and we used to throw stones at them. But that was my own youth. We used to go to the beach a lot. Bar Beach was around. It's not around now. Sadly, my dad used to take me to Bar Beach to see the capital punishment killings of armed robbers, and even Dimka, who was one of the leaders of the coup d'etat against Murtala Mohammed. We saw him shot there. Saturdays was a big day. And NTE used to have a channel. I think they still have their studio there. So one of our aunties, Ms. Julie Coker, was there. So we saw a different side of Nigeria. We would go to Ibadan. We would go to Ijebu. We would go to Benin. We would go to Port Harcourt by road. In those days, you could travel, and along the way, we go to Akure, you pick up mangoes, you pick up coconuts, my dad would pick up palm wine, all these things on the road that I don't know if you get it now because security is an issue. So for me, it was a romantic time. I think fashion, evolving through Nigeria, has started as a siloed industry. By that I mean every individual was doing their own thing, whether they were a seamstress, a tailor, a designer, a stitcher, they were doing their own thing. But we are realizing that with the 200 plus million people we have in Nigeria, you can't be an individual alone doing your own thing. So the evolution of fashion that I've seen in my own small way, as someone who's worked in the industry, is that there's more collaboration. The designers are looking for hire specialist artisans to help with their stitching, the styling, and the putting together of clothes and accessories. So I'm also seeing small grassroots shoots, very small at the moment, of the government playing a part in bringing together some kind of foundation so people can articulate their fashion designs to the world, because we have seen it in a lot of music. Obviously, Afrobeat is one of our biggest exports in this country. Obviously, there's oil and all the others, but I'm talking about within this entertainment, luxury, lifestyle industries. So we're trying to learn from that how private sector can play a part to enhance this fashion sector. So now we're seeing a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of styles. Men's fashion is big. It's not just women's fashion. Men's grooming is massive. Hair and beauty as well. So men are taking care of ourselves more and more. And accessories. Accessories, I think, is fundamentally the quick fix of fashion, where we can enhance and create jobs and hyper growth in GDP by focusing on this. And this is where I implore the government with, working in mineral resources, our precious metals, semi-precious metals, help those industries to grow. There's a great lady, Janet Adeyemi, who works in Women in Business, and she is working within that. Let's help our fairer sex or the female gender to grow in business as well, because there's a fundamental knowledge that if half your population are women, as ours is roughly, or maybe 51%, 52%, you have to educate the women so they too can add to GDP. It's a simple economist's theory. You can't leave them out of it because it's very important. And these industries in fashion are enhanced by women, and we need to push that forward. I think the banking system needs to be augmented. and I'm saying this from the government's perspective, the ease of doing business in Nigeria, as an investor myself, a foreign investor, as well as being an indigent in Nigeria, the problem is not getting your money to Nigeria, it's getting your money out of Nigeria. Not that you want to suck all the money out of the country, but what can help is the floating exchange rates, the flow and liquidity of money that can come in and out of the country. A lot of investors are worried about how they get their money out of Nigeria. So I think our banking system, going back to the central bank, which they're working on, needs to be much more fluid. So people feel they can invest and take money out. But also, we need to articulate what is on offer. We need to start some kind of documentation of who is available to have investment with, where they can be found, because it's because we are quite an opaque economy, meaning that people can't see the end of where they're putting their money. Once we do that basis and open up the lights within which kind of businesses are available to be invested in, I think a lot of investors, domestic and international, will be more willing to put money to it. I think content creation for me has been an evolution. I started as an ex-banker, as I said. I used to trade futures and options in Barclays Bank. I was on the Life Exchange, trading bonds, and I found that wasn't my life. I wanted to be more closer to people. Some people can be bankers on the trading desk or trading floor, but not for me. So I started doing events. I was very lucky enough to show that I was quite adept at doing events. So a big company called Richemont, they owned Cartier, Dunhill, Hackett. They were part of British American Tobacco. They took me on to do their events. So I was doing a lot of polo matches, a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of brand activation events in England. So for me, I got a lot of content knowledge from that. Different styles, people, different countries. But in the last 10 years, I felt that helping companies like LinkedIn, Google, all kinds of big banks in Europe and America was not my remit. My business, EMC3, was going very strongly in America. But as a Nigerian man, I didn't feel love in America. I know that everyone says it's the land of opportunity, but being someone of my own African descent, I didn't like the mentality there. People are good, but the infrastructure is racist institutionally, as we know. So I felt I wanted to give something back to Nigeria. And with all the 20 years of, at that time, about 17 years of knowledge I gained from doing some of the best Grand Prix parties in the world, Formula One, around Monza, Silverstone, Abu Dhabi, I was doing a lot of events. I thought, let me take this back to Nigeria. I didn't have to come back to Nigeria. I wanted to. And I know with all our grievances with Nigeria, if you ask many Africans about Nigeria, they'll say, they look up to us. You guys, you have Chinua Achebe, you have Wole Soyinka, you have Fela Kuti. What's your problem? You have Chimamanda Adichie. What's your problem? So we have to take ownership and say, yeah, we do have all these people. We have Afrobeats, whether it's Burna Boy, Davido, the Venus Bushfires, all these different people that are exported. Let us look inside and say, wow, we do have a lot. So I wanted, as a content creator, to show Nigeria in all the different sectors that we do have a lot. And that's why with the marketing and communications company that I've started, my own company, I felt I could touch so many sectors. And finance, as I mentioned, I work with banks. Also government, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, a very great entity. I work in fashion, with brand labels and people across the board. There are great shops like Alara here that also promote African fashion and African business. And did you know even Leventis does a lot of research, Nigerian bottling company, to help this country. And do you know Nigeria was blowing glass 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years before Europe knew glass blowing. And it's been found in Oyo State only recently. So it's very important that architecturally, we take ownership of our country. The Nok civilization that has been in the mid to, I think it's above Abuja, near Benue, and even Niger River, above those basins. That has a lot of artifacts and a lot of archaeological excavation potential. But we've allowed that just to linger. People have stolen a lot of our artifacts. You know, Nigeria was known for Benin bronzes. We were the best smelters of iron before people were smelting iron. So these are things we have to take stock of. And me as a content creator, I bring all that information together and I make sure that people acknowledge it and are aware of it. So then that will uplift us all. Now, this is a political question, but I believe with our background of the last 20, 30 years, we've had, sadly, leaders who have been militarily inclined, let's just call it that. And as we know, military people, they don't like educated people because educated people will ask questions. So we have had what we call a dismemberment of education in Nigeria for the last 35 years. And that has played an endemic part in retarding the gross domestic productivity of our country because our youths and even people up to my age and older have not had the infrastructure, middle-class education that is needed for a country to grow. You look at the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century in Europe, especially in Britain, and you look how they were expanded by merchants and artisans and specific skilled workers. Apprenticeships were big, education was huge. There was what they call a noblesse obligée, a nobility obligation that people who are rich give back to institutions, not to church, to institutions that will help education. And that is where I think we've had a disconnect. Education was lacking. So for me, the way that we can help, it takes time. This new government is in. They are trying to implement the 8-point agenda, which is a good agenda. But everyone's looking for results now. Nigeria has been in a very bad state. There's global downturn. Obviously, cost of living is so high as it has been for a while. Nigeria is exacerbated, but in Europe, cost of living is high. There are some stupid wars going on around the world that has meant oil prices have skyrocketed. And you know, with the rocketing of oil, everything goes up price-wise. So Nigeria needs to reevaluate education and apprenticeship. I believe even in fashion industry especially, apprenticeship is very important. Whether it's weaving, designing, marketing, online, whatever it is, factories, you need apprenticeship. And that's the quick fix of education. But education is fundamental to everything. Education of men and women, or girls and boys, both. Let's be honest, we need both sides of our genders to work together. You know, Yoruba, we've always been what we call a dual binary kind of culture. We've always thought of male and female as one, and it's very important. Even in our names, Taiwo and Kehinde, we won't know if it's male or female. So we have to really educate ourselves that we can work together. And I think our women are our future, and I can't even emphasize that more. And education is key, but it takes time. I think Japa syndrome is very real. Everyone wants a better life. Let's not lie. You want a better life for yourselves, but for your family, your parents, your children. And the opportunities in Nigeria, even when you have been educated and you finish graduate here, to find jobs is not easy. The infrastructure is very bad for job creation. And this is being worked on, you know, and the last 8 years has been fundamentally broken. But we know this new government is changing that. But specifically, Japa in Canada, they need our brains. You go across the world and you ask any nation, especially America, who are the best educated, the best, integrated, and the most proficient people, Nigerians. So it's not that we are stupid, it's that we don't have the infrastructure at home. And America, Canada, Europe, they're giving us the infrastructure. So getting out of Nigeria is not easy. There are opportunities and policies that allow it, but going across the border to Libya is not the way. You spend $5,000, $4,000, which is almost 4 or 5 million naira to try and get to Europe, and then you are treated like a dog when you get there. That's not the way. But, there are certain policies that can take you to these countries. And in Britain, for instance, it's not all, the streets aren't paved in gold, but if you earn £1 in Britain, you send that home, that £1 is 1,300 naira. So, and the minimum wage is £14 an hour now in Britain. So you can do the maths of that. So someone who is earning £14 an hour, if they work 10 hours in a day, they've earned over £100, which is 100,000 naira. So the maths, of course, is what makes people want to go there, because even if you are working there, obviously you're paying British rates, so your rent, your cost of utilities, your food and drink, your transport comes into play. It's not cheap there. But the money you send, even if you're only sending £100 a month back to your mom, that's 100,000 naira. So, or 130,000 naira in today's rate. So you can do the maths. That's why people are going. And the security in these countries is, and the education, to be quite frank, is better. But it doesn't mean they are better. We have to build a house, you must thatch the roof from within, so your roof doesn't cave in. And I think that's very important. Not that people shouldn't go home, go out of the country, but they should always come home as they can. Because we need, you see the Pakistanis doing it, you see the Indians doing it, you see the Arabs, they go home and they build their own countries. It's not good to just japa and leave. You have to come home small. I think my success is down to, as much as I can say a success, because it's still a book that is not finished and the stories are still unwritten, is a tenacity of hard work. It's very important that people understand that it takes a lifetime to look like an overnight success. It doesn't just come. What I'm still doing, I'm not the most successful in my business, but I love my business. And if you can find something that you love and you can make money out of, then you're in heaven on earth, to be quite frank. I think my spirituality and my faith is very important, as is my wife's. My wife, Helen Epega, she wrote the world's first pidgin English opera. And we've been staging it here in London. We played in Cape Town, in Nairobi, and in Lagos, And we've staged it in London. We're at the Royal Albert Hall next year. I'm executive producer of that. So I think my success, to add to that, is that I don't put all my eggs in one basket. And I work very hard to make sure I research and obtain knowledge of the next thing, or what was the last thing. I'm a historian as well. And I put things in perspective. And I try to add value as I can. But as my momsy used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I like to listen as well. And from children you can learn, from grandpapa you can learn. So humility is very important. I'm not arrogant with it. And I think that's the most important part. Collaboration, humility, and shared drive. But also knowing that for me, Saturday and Sunday, I'm off. That's my time for the family. I take a break. Sunday, even God rested on the 7th day. Me too, I rest. I'm not 24/7, even though this weekend we have a big fashion event, but that's work. But when I take my tools down, it's tools down. No one can call me on Sunday morning. So you can't be BOing to people. Never let anyone own you like that. That's what I say. Someone calling you on Sunday morning, obviously in journalism, in film, it's a different from projects. I'm not saying every time, but just be aware of yourself and your mental health. That's the most important. Sure. The world's first pidgin English opera is a show about a Nigerian fabled people. It's almost like Orisha, but it's not. There are people who are Mami Waters, as well as they are spiritual people. They are the guardians of the galaxy, to use an expression. There is God, the all-faithful God, and the all-knowing God, omniscient, omnipotent. But below that, there are all these almost demigods that look after, let's say, this sector of the universe. And these people are singers. They sing opera, but they sing it with Pidgin English. And you know, Pidgin is a language that is known by most Nigerians, but it's a language that people shun and say, it's a bad language. But they speak Pidgin in Hawaii. They speak Pidgin in China. They speak Pidgin, Old English Cockney is Pidgin. American even is a form of Pidgin because they Yankified English. So what my wife has done, Helen Epega, she's also known as the Venus Bushfires. She is an Afrofuturist musician. She composes songs. So she put together this compilation, which is a Pidgin English opera musical. And it's a show that lasts for about 45 minutes or an hour and a half. It depends if you're doing the short version or long version. So we have tenors, we have sopranos, we have violinists, we have kura player, and my wife plays something called the hang, which is like 2 tortoise-shell steel drums that sound like a harp. And she plays that, and she sings. She's the main protagonist in this. And it's a drama about all these people that have come, the Meneme people, who are meant to look after the planet, but they lose their voice. So Earth is, because God is angry with them, the Earth, and says these people are rubbish. But the Meneme people say to God, please, give them one more chance. They're not that bad. I know they're fighting, there's lots of wars, but give them another chance. So the lead Kanate of these Meneme people has to go to the Venus Bushfire, which is the heavenly celestial place, to bring the voice back, to sing Earth back into harmony. So it's a drama, and it kind of plays on our old cultural awareness in Africa and heritage of Nigeria of there are other beings. And you must have faith in your ancestors as well as in a God. And the deities, as we know in Yoruba, I think there are 7 deities, and these are very important cultural awareness that we try to give to children as well. I think the filmmaking in Nigeria is burgeoning. AFRIF, the African Film Festival, International Film Festival, is on now, which is a great show. I helped incept in 2010, many years ago. We had it in Port Harcourt. It was Governor Rotimi Amici that started that campaign, but it's going on very strongly now. Nollywood, as we call it, is being noticed by the international market, whether it's Netflix or Hollywood. I would like to tell you something, actually, which is, I haven't divulged this for many years. My great uncle, whose name is Pa Orlando Martins, God rest his soul, was one of the first African actors in Hollywood. He acted in the 30s with people like Ronald Reagan, Katharine Hepburn, and Bob Hope. And he always played a part as an African prince or chief. He was never like denigrated or made into a lower African slave or anything. And I think that instilled something in my mind with this film industry. I think it's very important that Nigeria, as it is, we have some great actors like Wale Ojo and Ramsey Noah. They are playing part in producing their own shows. And it's very important. Like in America, you obviously have people like Mel Gibson, Robert De Niro, who have produced their own films as well. That Nigerians are not just actors or technicians, they are also producers and directors. It's very important that we have that link within our industry. And we make friends and we forge relationships, not just with Hollywood. There's Bollywood, the Indian industry, and there's also China, because China's film industry is massive. Technically, I think that just as big as Hollywood. So we must look to ourselves in Africa as well. There's some great film makers from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, and I think collaboration I always use collaboration because I would not be here without collaboration. Obviously, my wife, you collaborate with your spouse, but also my businesses. I have a very good English business partner. He's really a business partner. I've started a new business. I collaborate with all kinds of industries and different sectors. So for film industry, I think it's important that we push our heritage forward, because people want to know about Nigeria. In Africa, they love Nollywood stories, and that's a fact. And we can expand by using distribution. Distribution is key. Netflix, all the Hollywood film houses, negotiate with them. Even if you don't get the best price for this show, make sure you check your contract, make sure you get it for your next film. So I think that's important, distribution. While I'm still alive, that's a very good question. Hope springs eternal with me, and I am optimistic about Nigeria. I think Nigeria is not what we all will think it will be. It's it's a country that needs to be more fluid. We have in diaspora a lot of powerful individuals and groups. I think we need to connect even more with those individuals and groups who need to invest in Nigeria. Our youth is very talented and is very able, but it's also very abundant. So we need to find a way to link up education, apprenticeship to these youth to give them something that is productive to work in. And that means expanding your mind as parents. It's not just doctors, lawyers, bankers that we need. We need artisans, we need creatives, and that's the most important point. It's a mind block. So for me, if we can work on Nigeria's mind psyche and the taboos of oh, we don't want our child to marry a musician. You know, even as a musician, you don't just have to be a rapper. You could be a music engineer, you could be a filmmaker, you could be an engineer that works with the technical aspects of editing, you could be a designer. There's so many aspects. So I say to my utopian Nigeria, learn from your brothers and sisters. International research online is very important. And for me, the dream is to see Nigeria as a fluid country of strength in Africa, where we're trading with African countries and we're using what we have as our assets. Technically, of course, we need Europe and America and everything, but we have it in Africa. We have it in Nigeria. So my beauty of Nigeria would be if we become our own Wakanda, working with other African states and enhancing our own GDP as well as our region and our continent's GDP working together. Gosh, my favorite, what's the first one? Food. As you can see, I like my food. I like a mixture actually. I like amala. I like yams. I swallow very well. Whether it's with ogbono soup, that's very good. But also, from my mother's river side, there's one okra, seafood okra that my mom used to make. And I still strive to find that. I go and find that whenever I go away. In London, you have some nice Nigerian restaurants, and in Lagos, of course, as across Nigeria. But nothing like home cooking. When my wife makes me a nice, I suppose she makes a goosey for me, eba, and that's my staple. My best music, I love Afrobeats, of course, but predominantly I'm a Fela man. Ebenezer Obey. I like the old styles. And I also like Zaire music. There's high life that comes across Africa. But to be a lie to say I don't like Jimi Hendrix. I like Jimi Hendrix. He's a guitarist, a Native American, African-American guitarist. I love his kind of music. So those are my mainstays. And Gorillaz and De La Soul are still very great music of mine. Those are my Spotify at the moment. What was the other question? I like wrestling. They used to call it Gidigbo back in the day, Yoruba wrestling. I used to love that. I haven't seen that much lately, but I like Nigerian wrestling. Obviously, we play good football. We're great footballers as well, globally. But you said Nigerian sports. Polo. Nigeria, I like Nigerian polo as well. To my young brethren and children of Nigeria, I say it's important hard work. Hard work, research, and belief in yourself. Obviously, times are very tough at the moment and money is tight. But with your own creativity, you can build your empire from there. I always believe that from one's mind, you can make worlds. And you shouldn't give up. Obviously, if you're not very great at one thing, you find what you are great at. But always be honest with yourself and treat others how you want to be treated. And remember, collaboration is the key or the little sister of success. And always have a smile. Very important. That's what I say.